Clovis was the first king of the Franks to unite all of the Frankish tribes under one ruler, changing the form of leadership from a group of royal chieftains to rule by a single king and ensuring that the kingship was passed down to his heirs. He is considered the founder of the Merovingian dynasty, which ruled the Franks for the next 2 centuries. Clovis was the son of Childeric I, a Merovingian king of the Salian Franks, and Bassina, queen of Thuringia, and he succeeded his father in 481. At the age of 15, he conquered the remaining rump state of the Western Roman Empire at the Battle of Soissons, and by his death in 511 he had conquered much of the northern and western parts of what had formerly been Roman Gaul. Clovis is important in the historiography of France as the first king of what would become France. His name is Germanic, composed of the elements HLOD and Whig, and is the origin of the later French given name Louis, born by 18 kings of France. Dutch, the most closely related modern language to Frankish, reborrowed the name as Lodewijk from German in the 12th century. Clovis is also extremely significant due to his conversion to Catholicism in 496, largely at the behest of his wife, Clotilde, who would later be venerated as a saint for this act. The adoption of Nicene Orthodoxy by Clovis led to a widespread conversion among the Frankish peoples, installing a unified religion all across modern-day France and Germany, and allowing Charlemagne's alliance with the Pope and birth of the early Holy Roman Empire. Frankish Consolidation. Numerous small Frankish kingdoms existed during the 5th century. The Salian Franks were one of 2 Frankish tribes that occupied the area west of the Lower Rhine known as Toxandria, between the Meuse and Scheldt. Their power base began to the southwest around Tournai, capital of the kingdom, along the modern frontier between France and Belgium. Childeric I, Clovis' father, became king of the Salian Franks in 457 upon the death of his father, Merovech, ruling over lands he had received as a foederatus of the Romans. In 463 he fought in conjunction with Aegidius, the Magister Militum of northern Gaul, to defeat the Visigoths in Orleans. Childeric died in 482 and was buried in Tournai. Clovis succeeded him as king. Under Clovis, the Salian Franks came to dominate their neighbors, initially aided by the association with Aegidius. Historians believe that Childeric and Clovis were both commanders of the Roman military in the province of Belgica Secunda and were subordinate to the Magister Militum. Clovis turned against the Roman commanders, however, defeating the Gallo-Roman ruler, and son of Aegidius, Syagrius in the Battle of Soissons, considered the end of Western Roman rule outside of Italy. Clovis then had the Frankish king Caroric imprisoned and executed. A few years later, he killed Ragnachar, the Frankish king of Cambrai, along with his brothers. Another victory followed in 491 over a small group of Thuringians to the east. By this time Clovis had conquered all the Frankish kingdoms to the west of the river Maas, except for the Ripuarian Franks. He secured an alliance with the Ostrogoths through the marriage of his sister Audefleda to their king, Theodoric the Great. With the help of the other Frankish sub-kings, he narrowly defeated the Alemanni in the Battle of Tolbiac in 496. He made Paris his capital and established an abbey dedicated to Saints Peter and Paul on the south bank of the Seine. In 500 Clovis fought a battle with the Burgundian kingdom at Dijon but was unable to subdue them. He gained the support of the Armoricans in the following years, for they assisted him in defeating the Visigothic kingdom of Toulouse in the Battle of Vouillé in 507, eliminating Visigothic power in Gaul. The battle added most of Aquitaine to Clovis' kingdom and resulted in the death of the Visigothic king Alaric II. According to Gregory of Tours, following the Battle of Vouillé, the Byzantine Emperor Anastasius I granted Clovis the title of consul. Since Clovis' name does not appear in the consular lists, it is likely he was granted a suffect consulship. Gregory of Tours recorded the systematic campaigns following Beaujolais to eliminate the other Frankish irreguli, or sub-kings, including Sigobert the Lame and his son Clodoric the Parricide, Caroric, another king of the Salian Franks, Ragnachar of Cambrai, his brother Richard, and their brother Rignomer of Le Mans. Clovis became the first king of all Franks in 508, after he had conquered Cologne, capital of the Ripuarian Franks. Baptism. Clovis converted to Catholicism at the instigation of his wife, Clotilde, a Burgundian princess who was a Catholic in spite of the Arianism that surrounded her at court. He was baptized on Christmas Day, 496. In a small church in the vicinity of the subsequent Abbey of St. Remy in Reims, a statue of him being baptized by St. Remigius can still be seen there. Clovis and his wife were buried in the Abbey of St. Genevieve in Paris. The original name of the church was the Church of the Holy Apostles. The followers of Catholicism believed that God the Father, Jesus and the Holy Spirit are three persons of one being, as opposed to Arian Christianity, whose followers believed that Jesus, as a distinct and separate being, was both subordinate to and created by God. While the theology of the Arians was declared a heresy at the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. The missionary work of the bishop Ulfilas converted the pagan Goths to Arian Christianity in the 4th century. By the time of the ascension of Clovis, Gothic Arians dominated Christian Gaul, and Catholics were the minority. The king's Catholic baptism was of immense importance in the subsequent history of Western and Central Europe in general, for Clovis expanded his dominion over almost all of Gaul. Clovis had adamantly refused to convert from Arian Christianity to Catholicism. Clotilde had wanted her son to be baptized, but Clovis refused to allow it, so Clotilde had the child baptized without Clovis's knowledge. Shortly after his baptism, their son died, and his death further strengthened Clovis's resistance to conversion. Clotilde also had their second son baptized without her husband's permission, and this son got very ill and nearly died after his baptism. Catholicism did offer certain advantages to Clovis as he fought to distinguish his rule among many competing power centers in Western Europe. His conversion to the Roman Catholic form of Christianity served to set him apart from the other Germanic kings of his time, such as those of the Visigoths and the Vandals, who had converted from Germanic paganism to Arian Christianity. His embrace of the Roman Catholic faith may have also gained him the support of the Catholic Gallo-Roman aristocracy in his later campaign against the Visigoths, which drove them from southern Gaul in 507 and resulted in a great many of his people converting to Catholicism as well. Nevertheless, Bernard Bachrach has argued that his conversion from Frankish paganism alienated many of the other Frankish sub-kings and weakened his military position over the next few years. In the Interpretatio Romana, Saint Gregory of Tours gave the Germanic gods that Clovis abandoned the names of roughly equivalent Roman gods, such as Jupiter and Mercury. Taken literally, such usage would suggest a strong affinity of early Frankish rulers for the prestige of Roman culture, which they may have embraced as allies and federates of the empire during the previous century. William Daly, more directly assessing Clovis' allegedly barbaric and pagan origins, was obliged to ignore the Gregory of Tours version and base his account on the scant earlier sources. A 6th century Vita of St. Genevieve and letters to all concerning Clovis from bishops and Theodoric. Roman law. Under Clovis, the first codification of the Salian Frank law took place. The Roman law was written with the assistance of Gallo-Romans to reflect the Salic legal tradition and Christianity, while containing much from Roman tradition. The Roman law lists various crimes as well as the fines associated with them. Later years and death. Shortly before his death, Clovis called a synod of Gallic bishops to meet in Orleans to reform the church and create a strong link between the crown and the Catholic episcopate. This was the First Council of Orleans. 33 bishops assisted and passed 31 decrees on the duties and obligations of individuals, the right of sanctuary, and ecclesiastical discipline. These decrees, equally applicable to Franks and Romans, first established equality between conquerors and conquered. Clovis I is traditionally said to have died on 28 November 511. However, the Liber Pontificalis suggests that he was still alive in 513, so date of death is not known for certain. After his death, Clovis was laid to rest in the Abbey of Saint Genevieve in Paris. His remains were relocated to Saint Denis Basilica in the mid to late 18th century. When Clovis died, his kingdom was partitioned among his 4 sons, Theuderic, Clauduma, Childebert, and Clotaire. This partition created the new political units of the kingdoms of Reims, Orléans, Paris and Soissons, and inaugurated a tradition that would lead to disunity lasting until the end of the Merovingian dynasty in 751. The disunity continued under the Carolingians until, after a brief unity under Charlemagne, the Franks splintered into distinct spheres of cultural influence that coalesced around eastern and western centers of royal power. These later political, linguistic, and cultural entities became the Kingdom of France, the myriad German states, and the semi-autonomous kingdoms of Burgundy and Lotharingia. Legacy. The legacy of Clovis's conquests, a Frankish kingdom that included most of Roman Gaul and parts of Western Germany, survived long after his death. To the French people, he is the founder of France. Detracting, perhaps, from this legacy, is his aforementioned division of the state. This was done not along national or even largely geographical lines, but primarily to assure equal income amongst his sons after his death. While it may or may not have been his intention, this division was the cause of much internal discord in Gaul. This precedent led in the long run to the fall of his dynasty, for it was a pattern repeated in future reigns. Clovis did bequeath to his heirs the support of both people and church such that, when the magnates were ready to do away with the royal house, the sanction of the Pope was sought first. By his conversion to Christianity he made himself the ally of the papacy and its protector as well as that of the people, who were mostly Catholics. Ancestry.